So in this episode, I'm going to be tortured and you're gonna watch it. Hi you guys, welcome to Kathy Griffin Talk Your Head Off. I'm Kathy Griffin. I'll be playing Kathy Griffin in this week's episode. You guys, I need you to like and subscribe because we're building this show together and you're helping me and I really appreciate it. Here's what's gonna happen. Nick, the producer, Nick, come here. Come on, come in. I called for you, I've called.
Yes.
Okay, he also produces the Trixie Mattel show, which is called Time for Trixie or something. Anyway, Trixie is banned from this show because she was supposed to do episode 1 and she didn't, so she's banned, but she's welcome to come and do my cooking and cleaning. Get out. All right, so I'm gonna have fun, I think, but I'm nervous, I'm just gonna tell you, because Nick put together clips that I haven't seen in years, maybe decades. And then I'll tell you what was really happening behind. Now, we did this one time in a previous episode, and it was so gosh darn popular that we're doing it again, because you guys love to see me squirm. And I definitely was squirming and plan to squirm again. Now, I should have some sort of contest, seeing if you can guess who makes my shirt. I know it's really subtle, but here's the thing. If you're gonna be a label whore, be a label whore. Be a filthy, dirty label whore. And this is obviously by Versace, and it says so thousands of times on the shirt. I don't know if that'll have to be blurred out, but hello, Donatella. All right, let's look at our first clip.
They've had diarrhea all morning, in addition to abdominal cramps and excessive flatus.
We farted the whole way over here.
Pipe down, Palmer.
And you are?
Dolores Minky, Little Ranger Scott Leather.
Hi, Dolores. How you doing?
I suspect it's a case of Giardia. We had a camping trip about 3 weeks ago. Contaminated stream water, beaver feces, that sort of thing.
Gross, Trevor just cut one. I'm gonna puke.
Okay, what about that for star power? And I don't mean me. Look at George Clooney with his Caesar haircut. You guys, let me just get that out of the way. There was a period in the 90s where like all the movie star guys and TV star guys got this haircut called the Caesar, like Julius Caesar, and it didn't look good on anyone, not even you, George. And you know I love you, and you've been so kind to me. And remember the time that you let my parents come watch you work on set and how nice you were to them? I don't know if you remember that, but we talked about it in the Griffin family Christmases as if we talked to each other. But you know, the rare times we did. We talked about you mostly, very fondly, more than Santa. You're like our Santa for the Griffins. Anyway, I remember giving him one time about having girl bangs, and he did chuckle, so I love him for that as well. All right, so there used to be a show called ER, Emergency Room, right? Now, for you youngs, it was huge in the 90s, like won every Emmy, amazing cast, and then sure enough, Quentin Tarantino gets to direct an episode, or rather, they got to have Quentin Tarantino direct an episode. So I was, friends with him, with benefits for him. So he gave me this little part out of ER and I couldn't believe it because the cast alone was just so stunning. It was, so there's Clooney, Anthony Edwards was in the scene. Juliana Margulies said this thing to me on set that was wild and I never forgot it. I said, you know, I'm kind of intimidated even being on the set because I'm such a fan of the show. I've watched every single episode. I'm just fascinated by all you guys and the level of talent. And then she pulls me in and she goes, "We're thoroughbreds." Which is kind of an asshole thing to say, but I also kind of love her for saying it. And it's kind of true. Maybe I should say it. Hi, I'm Kathy Griffin, thoroughbred. Yeah. I like the way that fits. Okay, so I used to do this thing that I can't believe to this day I got away with, which is no matter how small my role was, and this was a day player role. I think it was called an under 5 because I think I had under 5 lines or something around that. So I was just there for a day. Giant cast, not single camera, maybe 2, but the stakes were very high. And remember, on medical shows, you have to really move the way they do in a real hospital. My mom worked in a hospital for like 25 years. And it's just, not that I was like walking into the operating rooms, but I just know there's like no f***ing around in hospital work. You know, you f*** around and somebody dies. And so even though these are actors, the amount of like blocking, which the blocking itself was so complicated, that I was like in slow motion watching rehearsals being like, I'll never get this. I'll never understand this. I'll never know where to go. These are all really big stars and I'm just Kathy Griffin from Forest Park, Illinois. But Quentin was the director, and he put me in this outfit. I wanted to kill him because I'm self-conscious about my legs because I'm 5'3" and I have like short, stubby legs. And it's been the bane of my existence, right? So I never wear short skirts and I never would. And he puts me in these khaki shorts and I was like a scout leader, I think. And I'm nervous enough as it is, and I'm in the scene with Anthony Edwards. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. Anthony Edwards didn't like me because I was on a show down the Warner Brothers lot later on called Suddenly Susan with Brooke Shields. So I would see the ER people when I finally got on that show. This was prior to getting on Suddenly Susan, so I was still a day player at this point. Not the thoroughbred that you see before you in a not at all Versace shirt. Okay, so anyway, sidebar. You know me, I like a sidebar. So when I was on that show, Suddenly Susan, I was a cast regular. I felt like, okay, I've got like a real life job. I'm making a living. This is a good thing. I can get a nicer apartment. I'd go to the cafeteria and the ER people were always exhausted because they worked 14-hour days. The days would get longer as the week progressed and they'd be there till 3 in the morning on Friday nights and then they'd be there at 5 a.m. on Monday mornings. If you're on a situation comedy, which I was, your hours are pretty much 9 to 5 except for Fridays and you have like one long day. So I'll be honest, the hour drama people kind of had a little resentment towards the situation comedy people because we had just an easier schedule. So sure enough, I didn't mean to, but I guess did I say okay, I didn't mean to say that, but it just came out. So anyway, I cut or in line at the cafeteria in front of Anthony Edwards, the star of ER. Like I would say at this time, even though Clooney was already a giant star and he was doing movies on the side, Anthony Edwards kind of carried the show. And he was the main character in the pilot episode and throughout and all this other stuff. So I guess I cut in line and I was ordering a tuna melt because you guys know I like a tuna melt down now and again. And then I hear the star of ER behind me go, "I was first, Miss Pushy." And I just crumbled. Like I didn't have a witty comeback. And I also thought he kind of got it right by saying Miss Pushy. Like that's pretty much who I am. And I just go, you know, you're not a real doctor. Like, can you even believe I said that, you guys? I can't even. And by the way, I run into him twice in the like 20 years or more since this was filmed. And of course, I've been like, hey, I still feel bad about the time I in front of line when I got that tuna melt. Both times he's been like, who are you and what are you talking about? Anyway, so I was self-conscious about the wardrobe and I wanted to get my lines right because I had already had this little baby part in Pulp Fiction for Quentin Tarantino and I know he likes it letter perfect. So you have to say the lines exactly as they're written, no improvising, no changing punctuation or anything. It was a fast talking character, so I was nervous about that. We were about to do the first take and we had rehearsed a couple of times and Clooney was really sweet and supportive. He was like, oh, you're really good at this, you're really funny, or whatever he said. It was just lovely. And they dealt with so many guest stars on that show. I don't even know how they did it. Right before we did the first take, Quentin comes up to me in my dumb khaki shorts and he goes, "You have the cutest little sexy legs." And you guys, it worked. I'm such a sucker. I am a sucker for a compliment. I can be bought. I have a price, it's very low. I can be bought and paid for. And I actually like relaxed about that one thing with my dumb, short, stubby, beyond pale, white legs and the dumb socks I had to wear or whatever. And then I got to do the scene and I remember it was over so fast because they had so much more to do that was like more important than my little moment. And the other thing that I can't believe so many shows when I was starting out let me do is they let me bring my mom and dad to the set. And my mom and dad, who I hope you know from Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, which is on Peacock, and all 6 seasons are up there and you can rediscover my now departed but hilarious parents who we never scripted for 1 second because they were so legit as who they were. And I would bring them to every gig I had. You guys, if I had one line, if I had one word, I would call the associate producer or the line producer or so, I don't know where I got the balls, but I'd be like, Yeah, this is Kathy Griffin. I'm the actress playing the scout leader tomorrow, and I still have my Chicago accent. And I was wondering, is it okay if I bring my mom and dad? They drink quite a bit, but they take breaks during the day sometimes, and they'll bring their own folding chairs, and they know not to talk during rehearsal or takes. Like, they're really good about it. And they won't ask for autographs or pictures or anything, but they like the process. They like to see it, and like, if they could even just look at George Clooney or Anthony Edwards, like, that would just make their day. Plus, they're old. And then, if they said no, I would say they were dying. I would go, oh, there's one thing I didn't tell you. They both have terminal illnesses, and this is their last 6 months to live, and this was their dying wish. But whatever, oh, really? Okay, so where do I pick up the passes? Okay, great. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. And I would bring my parents to every TV show I did, and they would bring their folding chairs, and then there may be a box of wine involved on their part. And sometimes they would bring sandwiches, but they also loved craft service, which is like the snacks they set up. So I would go, and of course I like filled my pockets with the snacks and then gave them to my mom, and she put them in her Le Sport sack because that was the most high-end purse she would ever let me buy her. And just so you know, I tried to like buy my mom stuff when I started working and, you know, becoming successful and making some money and stuff. And she would return everything I got her. But I got her every fancy handbag you've ever heard of, and she would return it, and then she would keep the money. In those days, you could return it, especially to Nordstrom, and just get cash. In fact, you didn't even have to have the receipt. So after Christmas, I'd go over and I'd be like, where's that Chanel bag I got you? And she'd go, oh, for Christ's sake, Kathleen, last thing I need is a bag that says Channel on the sides. Nobody even knows what that's talking about. Why the hell would I need a bag? And it's too heavy. And she was right, because she was a big thief in restaurants as well. I was raised by thieves and wolves. They would go to a restaurant and take all the ketchups and all the jellies and jams, and my mom would shove them in her Le Sport sack. But she loved the Le Sport sack bags because they were made of nylon, so they were very lightweight. And they had lots of pockets with zippers. And I have to admit, to this day, I love a bag with pockets and zippers. I just do. And that's how ER won the Emmy. Would you guys ever want to watch Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List? I have not watched the show since it aired in like the early 2000s. I'll do it for you guys. And it might be fun if I know that you want me to. So if you want me to, like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, and we'll do it. Okay, once again, I'm looking at a freeze frame of something that I don't, you guys, I have been around so long, I don't even know who these other actors are. All right, I'm gonna hit play, and then you guys will see it next to me.
You Betty?
Hi, Betty. It's my fucking place. Who the fuck are you?
I'm Margaret, and this is Ted.
Okay, Ted, what's the problem?
Hello, Betty. What's the problem? I haven't got a problem. I've got f***ing problems. Plural. Wanna hear?
Sure.
Okay, I know what it is. You guys, the first half of the scene, I swear I was sitting there going, I'm really screwed because I'm lost. Okay, this was a movie called 4 Rooms, and it was a really cool concept because it was a movie with 4 directors. Allison Anders, Quentin Tarantino, who directed the one I was in. He put me to work a lot. Like, I really owe him. And he saw something in me as an actor that nobody else did. And so I have to really thank him for that. So thank you, Quentin. I know you're watching. Robert Rodriguez directed one, and Alex Rockwell. Okay, so these were 4 super big directors at the time, and they were all like in a clique, in a posse of people that hang out together. I know Allison to this day. I haven't seen Quentin for a long time, but this is a time when I was seeing him a lot, and I was so grateful that he put me in this. I played Tim Roth's boss. He's the one dressed as the bellhop. I think the bellhop character was in all 4 movies. That was another genius thing about this movie. This movie is, by the way, underrated. I just want to say, find it and check it out because it has a cavalcade of stars. Like the one that Allison Anders directed, Madonna stars in it. And you guys, I have a confession to make. Marissa Tomei is in this scene later with me. One of my favorite movies that I've probably seen, like, I'm not even kidding, like 30 times, is this movie called Untamed Heart. And it's really corny. It's a rom-com, and it stars Marissa Tomei and Christian Slater before we found out he's a dirty whore. So I've heard. I've met him a couple times. He was very nice. And whenever I see him, I just go, oh my God, you're the guy from Untamed Heart. And he told me that it was originally called Baboon Heart. And the premise of Untamed Heart is that there is a busboy who's given a baboon heart to live, and then he becomes protective. The waitress, played by Marissa Tomei, and they fall in love, and it's all about seeing how long his baboon heart is going to survive their love affair. She has a lot of like random attacks on her, and he like appears out of the bushes and then beats guys up. I don't know why I love that movie so much. I'm not like a big rom-com person, and out of all the sort of obscure rom-coms, that's the one I saw 30 times. So I was nervous to even be in the makeup room with Marissa Tomei, because I thought, okay, Griffin, take it down a notch. Don't like go groveling on your hands and knees and be like, you got to be the waitress in Untamed Heart. He was so sensitive. And I was worried about his heart the whole movie. And every time I see it, I still worry. And you were such a good waitress. Your facial expressions were so amazing. That's what you should have won the Academy Award for. I hope you get how much I love you. So I didn't do that. I said, hi, Marissa, nice to meet you. I remember she had a gaggle of gays around her. And I remember thinking that that was so fabulous. And she was in the makeup chair just gossiping with her 3 gays. And they all were saying, I don't like this person, but I love this person. And I hate that dress, but I love this dress. And it was just fun. So it's those moments where I shut the f up for once and turn into more of a sponge. Anyway, the other thing I remember about Four Rooms is Quentin still lived in his apartment on Crescent Heights. And he was pretty well known to still be in like a regular LA apartment. And so he would have rehearsals there. And it was funny because all these big stars would just pull up to a street with like no parking except permit parking. So you'd have to park at one of the public garages like 3 blocks away. And I remember Quentin was so generous with letting me rehearse with Tim Roth, who's such a legit, serious English actor. And of course was amazing in Reservoir Dogs, and he's just like a real actor. And I'm still thinking, oh my gosh, here I am, Kathy Griffin, Groundlings, improv troupe, improviser. I wasn't even a stand-up yet. I don't think I was doing any stand-up yet. Maybe I just started. And then I'm in these 2-person scenes with Tim Roth. And Quentin was just so great. We got to rehearse and rehearse until I got comfortable. Then I have to be honest, maybe because of my performance, I don't know why, but my part was drastically cut down when the movie came out. So I went to the cast and crew screening thinking like, that's it. I'm not gonna be able to walk down the street tomorrow. Everyone's gonna be calling my name. They'll all know she's Kathy Griffin of Four Rooms. She stole that movie from Tim Roth. Good luck to Tim Roth. Now that Griffin is on the scene, move aside, Streep. Here comes Griffin. And I was cut down to pretty much 1 scene, but I was thrilled to be even part of it, and just told my friends that if they didn't see me more in the movie, it's because they had gone to the bathroom and forgot. All right, let's look at another clip. This is fun and humbling.
When will I get a brother? You said I was gonna get a brother to play with.
Yeah, well, that's why Mommy's going to happy hour. Now listen, you just sit there with Mr. Babysitter and he'll take real good care of you, okay? Sweetie, don't sit so close to that thing. It's gonna rot your brain.
Okay, this is such a great story. All right, so that's the movie The Cable Guy, starring Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey. All right, so get this. It was directed by my friend Ben Stiller, and I was seeing Ben a lot at the time because then I had started doing stand-up, and I was part of this kind of well-known alternative comedy scene, alternative stand-up, I should say, because we did a kind of stand-up like I do now, which is more story-oriented and not so much like punchline, joke, setup, punchline. Jim had just done Ace Ventura. And I read later that he had to fight for The Cable Guy because it's like a twisted movie. And by the way, this movie is having a bit of a renaissance now. Like I've read some articles saying The Cable Guy like didn't get great reviews when it came out, but it's kind of a hidden gem. And we all know now Jim is this amazing Academy Award nominated actor. I mean, who can forget him in all of his amazing films, one after another, whether they're comedic or serious or both. Anyway, you know, I get the call from Ben Stiller, like, you're gonna be in the new Jim Carrey movie. And I'm like, this is it, I've arrived. So I go, who am I playing? And he goes, his mom. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't even know how old I was. Was I 30, 40, 20? It's in a flashback scene. And it's where Jim's character is a little kid, and it's where we learn that he is obsessed with watching cable television because his mom ignores him. And I'm like, this is a meaty role. This is why I went to the Lee Strasberg Theater Academy for 2 years full-time on a scholarship, which I did. And they didn't want me to do any comedy, so I did no comedy for the whole time I was there, because they were like, we know you're funny, we want you to become an actress. So I got to study like real acting with real actors, and it was definitely difficult. I'm ready. The training is going to pay off. So I show up to the set, Jim's not there. So if you don't notice, he's not in the scene. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get to meet Jim Carrey. I'd met him one time prior, years before, when he was just a local club comic. I mean, he was Canadian, but he was doing like the Comedy Store a lot, and he was known for just doing impressions. That was his whole act. I was at the Groundlings, which is a improv theater group on Melrose in Los Angeles, and part of that is improvised songs. And I used to do that a lot. Believe it or not, now I have all these vocal cord problems, but I used to sing. I loved getting a line from the audience and then basing a whole song on it. I would take classes to keep sharp, even though I was already in the company. And I remember one day, Jim Carrey shows up to the song improv class, and I had heard about him, and I'd seen him on a couple brick wall shows, which were like the old-timey comedy specials where a bunch of different comics would stand in front of a brick wall and do like 4 minutes each and stuff. There's a break in the class, and I'll just never forget standing on the sidewalk with him, and he's like, man, I don't know how you do that. You come up with that stuff so quick. And I was like, I don't know how you do what you do. Like, I think what you do is more valuable. Anyway, there's my first Jim Carrey encounter. But now he's Ace Ventura. Now he's doing a serious role. So I show up, Ben says, okay, go to wardrobe first. So I did, and it was so funny. They put me in ass pads. I know. So it wasn't a full fat suit, but it was like a stretchy, like it was either a jumpsuit or like a warm-up suit. And then they put the ass pads on. And I remember thinking like, that's an interesting choice. Okay. Once again, when you're a day player, you don't argue. So do that scene. And I thought, okay, it's not the biggest scene, but it's a pivotal scene because it's what drives the character. It explains why he becomes this obsessive cable guy. And then, sure enough, the movie's being made. I go to the cast and crew screening, so before it came out in the theater, or maybe I even went to the fancy red carpet part of it. I don't know. I don't even remember. So I'm watching the movie, and then I see that scene. Ben cut my head off. I mean, ironically, you know, with my history, but like, it was just better for the scene that the mom character be this kind of blurry, not really influential figure who's kind of ignoring him. I said to Ben later, I go, why the ass pads? And he goes, because we needed to explain his fixation with big butts when he gets older. And I was like, aha, I am a very important character. Then it wasn't my voice. You guys, that's not my voice. It's a girl named Tress MacNeille, and I know her very well. And they did a thing called looping, which is there was something about my voice that just didn't sound like the mom character. I don't know why. They had my friend, Tress MacNeille, go into a booth and watch me lip sync whatever the lines were, and it was her voice. So I go to the big screening, and knowing me, I probably brought my mom and dad, and there I am, like, kind of not even really in the movie. I think I was in the credits at the end, but it wasn't even my voice, and that was just one of those, like, wake-up moments of, like, okay, anything can happen in movies. And this is a business I do not know very well, so just have to stick to stand-up because I have a little more say in what happens when I do stand-up. Sidebar, you know I love a sidebar. The day, May 30th, 2017, that my infamous Trump decapitated head photo went live and was all over online, and I was put on the no-fly list, and Trump was very upset with me, and you guys know all that follow-up. I get a call from Jim Carrey. I don't know how he got my number. I don't have his number. I hadn't seen him in years. I never knew him like well or anything. I always admired him. Like, I actually looked to him as someone who I think has kind of accomplished everything you can even imagine in stand-up. Comedy, serious stuff, TV, sketch shows, stand-up specials, movies, big directors, important actors. Like, I just think he's amazing and he's done it all. You know, I get this call from Jim Carrey, and I got many calls that day that were obviously not favorable, and many people calling me saying, you've ruined your life and your career, and what are you doing? And you've upset the President of the United States, and now it's all everybody's talking about, and he's tweeting about you and blah, blah, blah. So Jim Carrey tracks me down, and I was already crying. And I don't even remember what I said. I think I just said, what do you think? Or what should I do? Or I probably just said, hi, Jim, or whatever. And he was so serious. And he goes, Kathy, most comedians would give their right arm to have this happen to them. Take all the time you need and process it and put it through your Kathy Griffin comedy prism. And I know one day you're gonna make this funny. And I swear, out of all the noise, that got through because it came from him, someone I admired so much. And I love that he tracked me down, and I did. I went on to do an entire tour called Kathy Griffin, the Laugh Your Head Off tour, and I made a movie about it called Kathy Griffin, A Hell of a Story, and you can see the movie streaming now. I think you can see it for free even, and it's 1/3 documentary about the stuff I was going through at that time, and 2/3 concert movie, so it's basically a movie version of a stand-up special, plus some documentary stuff that's very gritty and real. Was just what was happening at the time. Anyway, there's my big pivotal role in Jim Carrey and Ben Stiller's The Cable Guy. Okay, you guys, you know I love a good story jump off, and these clips are really perfect for jumping off into stories, and I know there are a lot of sidebars, so thank you for being patient with me. Please like and subscribe. I've had so much fun doing this. Let me know how you feel in the comments. The comments really help me, and they've been like overwhelmingly nice, which is still a shock. But thank you for helping me think that I actually have a Kathy Griffin comedy prism. So I'll see you guys next time, and like and subscribe.